Namaste students, myself Sunil Kumar from the Department of Computer Science. Today we are moving to the next session based on the chapter Web Designing. And today's our topic is advantages of HTML, disadvantages of HTML, XML and dynamic HTML, web hosting techniques and also the web scripting. These are the different topics we are going to discuss in this session. So we'll move to the session. Before moving to the session, in last class or in last session we discussed with the forms and frames. We discussed with the forms and frames. Form is a web page which allows user to enter information. If you use the forms, it's possible to enter the user information to the computer or to the website we can enter, and it also allows the user to interact with the content of form. So we can interact with the web page. User can interact with the web page by using the forms that we discussed. There are different types of forms also, form elements also we discussed, and also we discussed with the frames. What is a frame? HTML frames are used to divide your browser window into multiple sections. If you want to divide your window into multiple sections, then we are using with the frames. We are using with the frame. So it's possible to separate sections, or it's possible to make the different sections, which are each section can load a separate HTML document. There are two sections are there, means the two sections also can be loaded with the different HTML document. So these are the last topic what we discussed. So here in today's topic we are going to with the advantages of HTML, advantages of the hypertext markup language. HTML document browser interface are easy to build. Easily we can build the interfaces, or we can say easily we can develop the interfaces with the user. User can easily interface, or we can say the browser interface will be easy to build. Easily we can develop the software, or easily we can understand, user can understand easily, and also same time easily we can develop, or we can say easily we can design, and it is easy to learn. Remember, it is easy to compare to other programming language. HTML is easy to learn. There are some specialized structures in HTML. There are some specialized structures we are using in case of HTML. There are different structures are available, and remember, if you use the HTML language, there is no need of separate programming or separate software is not required to develop the HTML. Only by using the notepad we can develop the HTML document. Then some disadvantages. If you take any advantage of any system, that system has some disadvantages. It is a weak presentation tool. It is a weak presentation. Presentation is very weak compared to other programming language nowadays. Nowadays, if you take some other programming language, that presentation tool is very high. You can easily present the data. But here, the presentation tool will be very low, and is also with weak markup tool. It is a weak markup tool. We can normally, HTML means a hypertext markup language. So we can mainly make the hypertext, and also we can make the markup here. That is weak in case of HTML. That is high in case of XML or dynamic HTML. And it is very unstable. It is not a stable language. So we can say HTML is not a stable language. We can say it is a very unstable language. These are the advantages and also the disadvantages of the HTML. Next, we'll move to the one more topic, that is known as XML. XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. XML is a markup language, also markup language for document containing structured information. Mainly used for structured information. If you have to display the data in the form of structured information, we are using the XML. Structured information contains both the content and the same indication of what the role of each content plays. So mainly contains the information in the form of contents. The content may be word, pictures, anything. It can be used word or pictures, anything. So that also contains the role of content plays. What is the role of the particular content? That also explained in case of XML. XML is a text-based markup language. XML means it is a text-based markup language that is fast becoming the standard data interchange on the web. Means if we use the XML, it is a text-based markup, so easy to interchange the data. Easy to interchange the data on the web. That is the main advantage of XML. The next difference between the XML and HTML. Differences between hypertext markup language and extensible markup language. HTML means it is a hypertext markup language. XML means extensible markup language. That's the difference, main difference. One is hypertext markup language, HTML. Then XML means extensible markup language. Both also markup language. The difference is XML and HTML. HTML is used to display the data and to focus formatting the data. How we can format the data and also how we can display the data on the screen. That is mainly focus in case of HTML. HTML mainly focused on the how data can be displayed, and also focus on how to format the data. But if we take XML, XML is used to describe data and focus what data is. Mainly it is used to describe the data. So mainly in case of HTML, that is used to display the data, but XML that is used to describe the data. It is used to describe the data, and also HTML focus on formatting of data. It is focus on formatting of data. But if you take XML, that is displays, or we can say it is focus on the data. What is data is, what data is. Sometimes what is data will be some other factors. So that will be displayed or described in case of XML. In case of HTML, tags are predefined. We are using the predefined tags in case of HTML. HTML we are using the predefined tags. But if we go with the XML, if you are going with the XML are not predefined, it is not a predefined tag. So we can create our own tags. It's possible to create our own tags in case of XML. But if you take the HTML, that tags are not case sensitive. It is not a case sensitive language. HTML is not a case sensitive language, but if you use the XML, all the tags are case sensitive. All the tags are case sensitive in case of XML. The next one is HTML is not extensible. It's not possible to extend the HTML program. It's not possible to extend the HTML, but it's possible to extend the XML. If you take the XML language, it's possible to extend. It's possible to extend the XML language. The next topic is DHTML. DHTML means it is a dynamic hypertext markup language. Dynamic HTML. Normally says that dynamic HTML, dynamic hypertext markup language. Dynamic HTML is a collective term for a combination of HTML tags and options that can make web pages more animated and interactive than the previous versions of HTML. Mainly, dynamic HTML is a collection of HTML tags. Mainly, it is a collection of HTML tags. Other than HTML tag, it can be more animated. You can make you can keep the web page more animated and attractive. It's possible to make the web pages animated more, and also you can make the interactive than the previous versions of HTML. We can easily interact with the users, more interactive, or we can say easily user can interact through the animated or through the videos or through the icons. That is the advantage of dynamic HTML. DHTML refers to the web content that changes each time it is viewed. When you are going to view the web page document, or when you are going to view the web page document, sometimes based on the view that change will be done. Some contents are going to change. That is mainly use of the DHTML. For example, the same URL could result in a different page depending on any number of parameters, such as, for example, if you same URL if you use one same URL, then later based on the URL can be change the data. It's possible to geographic location of user. For example, if you're going to use one site, at that time it also access your geographic locations. It also access the geographic location. For example, if you're using OLX, if you're going to use the OLX site, then based on your geographic location, it will display the data. Data is going to display based on your geographical location. For example, OLX. If you use the OLX, automatically you take the GPS or geographical location. GPS or geographical location of the user. Based on the location, it is going to display the result. It's based on that going to display the result. Then time of the day. If you take the data time if you are displaying, that also taken from the user. And previous pages viewed by the user. So for example, if you are going to use one site, so it also displays the previous pages. It will show the details for previous pages. Profile of the reader. Profile of the reader, when who is going to read, their profile also displayed. These are some examples of DHTML. The next one is important topic, that is web hosting. Web hosting, this is a 5-mark question, will come from this part. Web hosting means hosting of the web server applications on the computer system through electronic content on the internet, readily available to any web browser client. So when you're going to develop any web page or website, that is available to only for the who developed the website. Those only one who developed the website, only that person can view that particular web or website. So we are making that available on the internet. That websites we are making available on the internet, that is called as web hosting. Web hosting means making your website readily available to any web browser client. Any client or any user can use your website. You can see your website means that is readily available to everyone. So it is available on internet. So making that is actually known as web hosting. If you take the web hosting, there are different types of web hosting services are available. The first one is free hosting. Second one is virtual or shared hosting. First one is free hosting. Second, virtual or shared hosting. Next, dedicated hosting. And last one is a co-location hosting. There are mainly 4 types of web hosting techniques are available. The first one is free hosting. This type of hosting is available with many prominent sites that offers the host name web pages for no cost. Means when you are going to host the web page freely, it is also possible to host the web page freely. But if you use that free hosting, then if you take the URL, their hosting name will be available. For example, blogspot.com. If you use the blogs, when you're going to create the blog, it is a free of cost. So if you use the blogspot, that they are marketing their site, blogspot. They are marketing their site. You can host your web page there, but they are marketing with their site. That is a free hosting. The next one is, but before that, moving to next one, if you use the free host, there is no need to pay the amount. There is no need to pay the amount. But if you use free hosting, some advertisement will be available. Some advertisement will be they are posting their own website web advertisements. Next one is virtual or shared hosting. Virtual or shared hosting. This type of hosting is where one own website domain is hosted on other web servers of company. For example, your website is it. You have created one website, you are hosting in others hosting company web server. Others web server, you are hosting your website. Others place, you are hosting your website. That is actually known as virtual or shared hosting. One web hosting company will be there. They are using one web server. In that web server, we are hosting our web pages. We are hosting our web pages in that. This type of hosting is known as virtual or shared hosting. Next one is dedicated hosting. Next one is dedicated hosting. In this type of hosting, the company is wishing to go online trend and enter web server from a company, and this is suitable for large high traffic sites. Means, for example, one person, for example, my company is there. I have my own company and I hosting my website in my own web server. Online we can take the entire web server as a rent. We will take entire web server as a rent and we are hosting our website in that. We are hosting our own website in our own server. That if you take that for rent means that is our server. So we are hosting our website in our own server. That is actually known as dedicated hosting. The last one is co-location hosting. Co-location means this type of hosting is opposite of shared. So one company owning its own web hosting company, or one company hosts contain its own website in their web location or web server. Then in that we are hosting our website. For example, one company that has its own dedicated hosting company or dedicated web server. In that web server, I am hosting my site. I am hosting my site in the others web hosting server. Others server, that is actually known as co-location. So that is actually known as shared hosting. Others web server, we are going to host our website. In other server, we are going to host our website. That is actually known as virtual or shared. That is for us it is a virtual and shared. For them that is a co-location. Means I have my own web server. I have my own web server and I'll use my web server and I'll host my website. I'll host my website and remaining space I'll give to some other. Remaining space I'll give to some other people or some other company. So that is actually the co-location. For me that is a co-location. For them that is a shared. So that is the opposite of shared hosting. In case of co-location, I am having my own website. I have my own web server and website. My website is hosted in my own web server. Then some part of that web server is giving to other people. That is giving to the other people. So that is actually the co-location hosting. Next topic is web scripting. What is a web scripting? The process of creating and embedding the scripts in a web page. The process of creating and embedding the script in a web page is known as web scripting. So normally we can say creating. Normally web scripting means if you use HTML programming, if you use a HTML tool, we can only design. It is not possible to validate the data. For example, if you are using username and password. Normally if you want to enter any site, for example Facebook or any other site, you have to give the username and password. So normally in case of design, if you use forms, you can design that one. But when you enter the username and password, you should check with the database value. It should be checked with the database value whether that value is correct or not. So how we can check this one? When you are going to check this data, whenever we are going to check this data, we mainly use the web scripting, or we can say programming in case of web. Programming in web is known as web scripting. Programming in web is known as web scripting. That is mainly for validating the data. The script is a list of commands with the embedded in a web page. It's a list of commands, or we can use a programming tool that is embedded in a web page. Scripts are interpreted and executed by a certain program or scripting engine. We are using the mainly scripting engine, or it is executed with the program. Some embedded programs will be executed in case of script. The next, if you take the script, there are mainly two types of scripts are available. Mainly two types of scripts are available. One is client side script, one more is server side script. One is client side scripting language, one more is server side scripting language. The client side scripting enables interaction within a web page. The client side scripting enables interaction with a web page. User client can interact with the web page. At that time take the data from the user. At that time will take the data from the user. For example, date and time mainly. The client side script are downloaded at the time of client end and then interpreted and executed by the browser. Normally some games are there. Some games that we are mainly using along with the client side scripting. Mainly we are using that along with the client side scripting. Means that scripting will take the data from the client system. That will take the data from the client system and that is going to execute. That is client side scripting. The most popular client side scripting are, one is VB script, Visual Basic, second JavaScript, JSP and ActionScript. So these are the different types of client side scripting. For example, you can see some Candy Crush. If you take the example of game Candy Crush, if you take the example that game, that will take the data from the or date and time from the users. Means normally for 1 hour that 5 lives will be given, 5 life will be given. So if you change the date and time in a user system, you will get the extra lives. So that is the based on the client side scripting language. The next type is server side scripting or server side script. Server side scripting enables the carrying out the task by the server end, or we can say the send the result to the client end. For example, in case of server side scripting, each time if you want to work with the web page, each time the browser will interact with the server. Each time the browser will interact with the server. If you want to move to the next step, so each time client or we can say web browser should be linked with the server, to perform any operations. For example, if you are going to check, you will enter the Aadhaar card number, then you will enter the state. After entering the state, automatically district will be changing. So that is based on the server side scripting. Means if you enter the state, automatically based on that you will fetch the data from database and will display the different districts. So if you want to display that like that, that is actually known as server side scripting. Means login, when you are going to log in any website, if you enter the data, at that time it is connect with the server. Some popular server side scripting languages are, one is PHP, then Perl, ASP, then JSP, Java Server Pages. These are the different types of server side script. So by here we reach the end of session today. In this session we mainly discussed about the advantages of HTML, disadvantages of HTML, XML, dynamic HTML, web hosting techniques and web scripting languages. So by this I will wind up my today's session. Thank you.